Alright guys, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing the Chicago Cubs. I don't like the Chicago Cubs for fantasy purposes on a whole, except for like 3 or 4 hitters. They don't really have a lot to offer in the pitching categories as far as strikeouts, as far as whip, as far as ERA. They don't have an elite closer. Where their true value is on offense, and it really is only in a couple of spots because a couple of their elite players are they're one-dimensional. So we'll kind of just dive right in. This is probably going to be a really short video, just because what they have good, and what they don't have, they really need. For pitching wise, Jon Lester is probably the only guy who on that staff who I consider a have. He's not a must-have. He's not a, oh my God, you need him. But he's very solid. He's, he makes his starts. He's not a hard-throwing lefty, so you don't have to really worry about injury concerns with him too much. Last year he won 18 games, so he's really, really solid as far as that goes. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. I think he had 181 innings pitched last year, and he only struck out 149 guys. So he doesn't give you that K per inning that you'd like to see from a top-flight elite starting pitcher. But he's going to give you starts. He's going to give you quality starts. He's going to give you wins. So in leagues where you get points for innings pitched, where you get points for quality starts, if quality starts is a category, if you're playing in a category league, rotisserie league, if wins is a big category, he's going to help you out in whip. He's not, ERA, he's okay. His ERA drifts in between like 3.5 and 4, which, you can do a lot better, but you can also do a lot worse. So, and that's pretty much a lot to say about the whole Cubs staff as a whole. You could do a lot better, you could do a lot worse. They're not guys that I'm drafting in the top 10, 12 rounds of a draft, but they're probably not going to be around in the bottom 5 rounds of the draft either. So it really just depends on your team makeup. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for guys to round out a staff, they're not bad. But you're not looking for any of these guys to anchor your staff. So you have Lester. Yu Darvish is coming back off of major shoulder issues. So he is a huge, huge question mark. I don't know what to expect from him, to be honest with you. He could have a great year and get back to the Cy Young level form he showed with the Rangers, or he could be a total and complete bust. He could be hurt all year, could be on the DL all year. So proceed with caution. Cole Hamels, end of his career. Never, he was a decent strikeout guy in his heyday in Philly, but he was never the type of guy that would be, racking up 15 strikeouts a game. Jose Quintana, same kind of deal. He's in his early to mid-30s. Not a hard thrower. Doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but he's kind of steady, So the intriguing name on this staff is Kyle Hendricks. He's still young. I think he's like 26, and he shows flashes of like where he looks like he could break through. So he's definitely a guy that I would definitely keep an eye on. I wouldn't draft him too high, but if he's around in like the late teens, he might be a guy you want to grab a hold of, because if he has that breakthrough season finally, he could really give you some great value. So definitely a guy I would look toward. Moving on to the hitting. And this is the Cubs calling card as their lineup. Headlined at the top by Kris Bryant and Javi Baez, who are 2 of the elite options at their respective positions. Javi Baez is a second baseman, and you're not going to find his power in a lot of second basemen out there, so he's definitely a guy. He's a plug-and-play guy. You want him in all formats, all scorings. Kris Bryant, he's coming off of a really down year, but he's still is close enough to his MVP year and just putting up crazy elite stats at the third base position. 2 years ago, the Cubs offered him an extension for 10 years, $300 million, and he turned it down. So that tells you the kind of player that he is and can be. So if he can bounce back and be who he can be, another plug-and-play guy. And in some leagues, depending on your settings, he has outfield eligibility as well, which gives you a lot of versatility. So dual eligibility is always big, because then on those days where if you're in a daily lineup league, if you have a couple outfielders out but you have a good third baseman on the bench, you could shift Brian over to the outfield and put the backup third baseman in, and now you don't have to have any holes in your lineup. So definitely a guy that you want to have. The catcher, Willson Contreras. He had a little bit of an off year last year, but he was very unlucky. There's a stat of batting average based on balls in play, and he was under 280 for that last year, which is really unlucky, because if you put the ball in play, I mean, a lot of times it's going to either find the hole, it's going to fall in. So if he can just get a little less unlucky, which I know is weird, that, fantasy sports is such a hard and cold, it's about the numbers, they are what they are, they're not going to lie. When you look at trends, sometimes a player trends down for a year or two and then all of a sudden reverses trend and, can all of a sudden explode. And I kind of see that maybe happening this year with Willson Contreras, and I see it happening for a good reason, and the good reason is the next guy that I'm going to talk about, and that's Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber burst onto the scene in 2015, and he was just hitting bombs all over the place. Just a huge guy. He's built like a friggin' truck, and he hits moonshots. All of a sudden, the Cubs decided, we're going to test you out at leadoff. And he starts trying to, spray the ball around a little bit. He messes with his batting stance a couple of times, and he gets away from what made him, one of the exciting young players in Major League Baseball and in fantasy baseball as well. And that was, he stopped hitting the ball hard. So this offseason, he really worked on it, and he said, listen, I'm back to what I was. I'm going to get in the box. I'm going to take my hacks. And I'm going to try and drive the ball a long way. And if he can get to do that, that makes the Cubs lineup deeper and more dangerous. It also helps that hopefully their leadoff hitter this year is going to be Albert Almora Jr., their center fielder, plays great defense, so he should play every day. He's a really good hitter. He doesn't offer you a lot in the way of power. He doesn't have a lot of speed. So he's not necessarily a great fantasy option, unless you need help with batting average or on-base percentage. However, in real baseball, if he can be the leadoff hitter and hit 290 and get on base that way, draw some walks and set the table for the rest of the guys, well, now you can bat Schwarber fifth, which lets Brian bat third, which lets Contreras bat, third, and then lets Baez bat second. Now you have a deep lineup. Now everyone is seeing more fastballs because they're all dangerous, and then you have the last guy, you have Zobrist, who, he's 38 years old and he's going to hit the decline eventually, but the guy still produces. So if you have a guy like him hitting sixth, I mean, again, that just lengthens the lineup. It seems more quality at bats for everybody else. So they're a team that their lineup, I like their lineup. I mean, in real baseball, they're probably going to lose a lot of 7-6 games. But in fantasy baseball, that's fine, because just, give me my stats. As far as that, I mean, there's a couple of other options. I mean, Jason Hayward signed that huge free agent contract. He's basically undraftable. He does nothing that you want. I mean, he's so marginal. He had 8 home runs last year, and he batted .270 with a .335 on-base percentage. I mean, if you're not going to give me 15 to 20 home runs with an average and on-base percentage like that, you have no room on a team. In a standard 12-team league, he should be on the waiver wire. So I definitely am not paying any attention to him. A name that you should pay attention to, because here's where exactly what I just said, in that the average and the on-base percentage numbers may not be there yet, but the power numbers are, and that's Ian Happ. He has second base eligibility in a lot of leagues, so he has outfield eligibility in a lot of leagues too. He is a very intriguing name. He hit 15 home runs last year, and he was on base at a .353 clip. And he struck out a ton. So if he can cut down on the strikeouts, that OBP is going to go to about 380, and I guarantee you the home runs go over 20. In which case, then, if he continues having his second base eligibility, he'll be an elite option in fantasy baseball. Outfield, He's probably more of a mid-range, but, you know, there again, remember in those leagues that I talked about where not only do you have, like, second base, shortstop, first base, third base, but you also have the middle infield position and the corner infield position. So, you know, you can plug him into a middle infield position while you have a good second baseman, and, you know, there you go, you're all set. So, he's definitely has some good potential for you. That's about it as far as their lineup goes. Their prospects, you got Miguel Amaya, who's the number 94 ranked prospect in baseball, but he's the number 7 ranked catcher. He's not that close, but because Contreras is so entrenched as their starting catcher, and he is near the elite, and especially if he can have a little bit of a bounce back year, like I said, he was 2 years ago, he was one of the lead catching options. So I don't see them moving him or trying to shift him to another position, because they have guys pretty much entrenched at most of their positions. Oh, my bad. Anthony Rizzo. How can I forget Anthony Rizzo? I mean, he's a stud just like Chris Bryant. That's why I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh, they might shift Contreras to the first base, but then I'm like, wait, no, they have Rizzo. I forgot Rizzo. Yeah, he's just like Bryant. Plug and play him. 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 280, 290 every year. Steady Eddie. Lock and load. And last year they played him a little bit at second base, so in some leagues he might have second base eligibility, which if you can plug him in with that kind of power at second base, yeah, do it. I would draft him to be my starting second baseman in fantasy in a heartbeat, because those numbers are ridiculous for a second baseman. So I don't see Amaya getting a call anytime within the next couple of years. I really think he's keeper in Dynasty League only at this point. He has no value in a redraft league at all. He doesn't even have that big of a value in a keeper league, just because you turn over your roster every few years. So I don't know how long, you know, your settings may vary on your league. It really just depends on how long you can hold on to your prospects. Dynasty League, he does have value. He has value most of all because if the Cubs need to go get something like pitching, he's going to be one of the guys they probably look to move to a catching needy team who maybe doesn't have any like good kind of prospects. The Mets would be a good fit. We don't have a lot of catching prospects in the minors. We signed Wilson Ramos, but he's got an injury history. We only signed him to a 2-year deal to begin with, so we're going to have to do something there eventually. So I could see, if we don't think Zach Wheeler is going to re-sign with us, and he's on an expiring contract, if the Mets aren't contending for a playoff spot and the Cubs are, I could absolutely see the Mets trading for a package including Miguel Amaya at the trade deadline. So his numbers are intriguing. He only had 106 at-bats last year in Pro Bowl. It was his introduction to Pro Bowl last year, but he had 35 extra base hits. So there again, it's that over a third or more of extra base hits, because then as he grows into his body, again, hopefully those doubles become home runs. His on-base percentage is .349, so it's right where you like to see a good young prospect, because hopefully he learns a little bit more patience and then bumps that up to about .380. So he's an intriguing prospect. I kind of like him. There's a lot of catchers I like before him, but if you're in a prospect draft and some of the elite catching options like Joey Bart, MJ Melendez, Roberto Hernandez, Zach Collins, Keibert Ruiz, if these guys are off the board and Miguel Amaya is out there, I would feel very comfortable and I'd be very happy to take a guy like that. So if he's out there, you might want to take a look at him. And then you have Nico Hoerner, who was the first-round draft pick of the Cubs last year. He came out of college, and college hitters have a tendency to progress a little bit faster because the competition in college is probably at a low A level. It's definitely baseball is weird in the fact that just about every other sport, you have to have some college to be drafted. As far as like football and basketball, although basketball might be going back to being able to draft high school kids. Baseball and hockey are the only ones where you can draft a kid at like, 16, 17, 18 years old. And in baseball, if you draft a kid out of high school and he doesn't want to sign with you, he can decline the draft and he can go to college as long as he's committed to college already, and then go back into the draft after his junior year. So, and this kid Horner, he came out of college, and in his first taste of pro ball last year, he had 49. He only had 49 at bats, but he hit 327 and got on base at a 450 clip. So again, that's not like, oh my God, he needs to be like the #1 pick in a rookie draft. But if he's a polished college hitter and made the adjustment to pro ball, where you got to remember too, you're going from aluminum bats to wooden bats. That's a nice move. Usually, people's averages take a real dip when they first come out of college ball and go into pro ball, just because of the simple fact of that the aluminum bats, I mean, they hit the ball a lot harder. The whole bat is a sweet spot. So, hits that would be, a basic line out to left in the major leagues or in minor league ball with a wooden bat are probably a home run in college ball. So the fact that he was able to come out and hit like that right away and get on base, his on-base percentage is 123 points over his average. That to me means he's got a good eye. He's going to be a good hitter. So he's definitely a guy. He's the number 100 ranked. He made the cut for the top 100 for Major League Baseball prospects last year. So he's definitely a guy I would be looking at. He is a shortstop. I want to say the middle infielder. I don't remember. Yeah, I think he's either shortstop or second base. So, for sure. So, he's definitely a guy I would look at. So, that's pretty much going to be it on the Cubs. I'm going to try and do the work tonight on the Cardinals and the Pirates. And if they're kind of in the same mode, I may just knock them out in one combined video, do like 1.5 hour to 40-minute video and knock both of those teams out combined. So that way I can get to the National League West, hopefully hammer that out in a few days, and then start working on the American League, because drafts should be starting up for most people. If you're going to be doing a regular redraft, they probably won't be for another couple of weeks, because people like to wait and see positional battles, if there's any injuries. Like right now, if you did a redraft league draft last week and you drafted Salvador Perez, the catcher from the Kansas City Royals, he's having surgery on Monday because he blew out his throwing arm, and he's going to have Tommy John surgery, and he's going to be out for the entire year. So you're screwed. So that sucks, because I have him in like 3 dynasty leagues. Yeah, so I'm scrambling right now, trying to make moves, trying to make trades, trying to make waiver wire claims. So we'll probably get a little bit more into drafting and stuff. Hopefully, I'm hoping to really start banging out some of these teams. I have a few days off the rest of this week, and then next week I want to get through a lot of it, because the following week my daughter's on spring break from school. So I won't have to come every day to pick her up and stuff like that. So I'll be home a little bit more. She might actually go spend a few days with her grandparents, so that would be nice. Which will leave me a little bit more time to do some of this. So I'm hoping to be able to be done with the entire thing, hopefully by the end of that week. That way, that last week right before baseball actually starts, I can do a few mock drafts. I can do a few things like that. I can show you guys like some strategies and what I'm looking for when I'm doing a draft. All right, so as always, like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you want to see. If you have questions on certain players, if you're trying to decide between a couple of prospects in a draft, if you get a trade offer and you need a second opinion on it, let me know. Hit me up. Drop the comment in the box below, and I'll get to it, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. All right, so see you guys later.